Hi everyone, today we're going to discuss opening a stock account for your child, specifically a custodial account, which basically means that you as the adult open the account for the benefit of your child. You're both listed on the account, but you retain control over the assets and investment decisions within that account until they reach the age of adulthood, and that age depends on your state. So a few details. You typically won't see it referred to as a custodial account. It'll often say UTMA or UGMA. You say, what is that? UTMA is Uniform Transfers to Minors Act, UGMA, Uniform Gift to Minors Act, effectively the same thing, and at the end of the day, a custodial account. So let's get into what a custodial account is. A quick excerpt, but this is a screenshot from TD Ameritrade, and I just wanted to highlight that you don't see, for example, it called custodial account. What you see is the mnemonics that I showed earlier, or acronym UTMA and UGMA. So that's the type of account that we're talking about. The summary on what is involved with opening an account like this. One key point is that the account will transfer to the child once they're no longer considered a child, and what age is that, as I mentioned, is determined by state law. Range is typically 18 to 25. The average is 21. The official term you'll see for this on the stock or brokerage documentation typically is called age of termination. 21, I'm in Washington State, so it's 21 here, and so the custodial account that I have for my daughter, for example, will pass to her full control over all investments once she turns 21. Related to that, when you deposit money into this type of account, it does immediately become the property of the minor. So there is that line that once the money's moved over, it's not your money anymore, it's now the minor's or child's money, but again, you do retain control over the investment decisions within that account. It is kind of analogous to a non-complex or baby trust fund, such that, again, you make the investment decisions, but the money is theirs. I do want to point out that if you sell, for example, an asset on that and have a profit, the tax that is charged on that is actually the minor's tax rate, not the adult tax rate, again, because it is truly the property of the child. Let's see, there's no limit to contribution, so that's the good news. The one caveat is that you may need to check if there's a gift tax. It may invoke a gift tax for deposits over $15,000 per year, but that changes based on federal stuff, so you need to look into that. Withdrawals can be made, but they have to be made for the benefit of the child. So you do, again, it is the child's money. Once it's moved into the account, you can pull it out to cover expenses for them if needed, but it does need to be for their benefit, not yours. I did want to add that this type of account is definitely an ideal way to get kids interested in growing a stock or a stock index account, just because they can, it's real money, it's their money, and they can see the ups and downs of the short-term volatility, and more importantly, hopefully see the long-term accumulation from investing in stock indexes. So you can take money that they receive as gifts from the holidays or other events and so forth, and put it to good use in terms of just A, good investment habits, and B, hopefully help build up a nice financial buffer for them once they move into adulthood. I did also want to add that if it's possible, you want to try to do a monthly contribution just to make that a consistent thing. Again, just because small amounts but consistently done can definitely accumulate and grow and compound over time. And that's kind of the point of this last slide here, which is putting compound time to work for your children. I did, as an example, run the numbers for if you assume you open an account, put in $1,000, you made a monthly contribution of $100, and if we do that assuming a 12% return over 12 years, that ends up being a pretty significant nest egg for your children or child to start adulthood with. That runs into around $36,000. So if you start it when they're 8, they take control of when it's 20. That's a pretty good financial buffer to move into young adulthood with. Last point to make here is you may want to consider looking at investing in tech stock indexes, i.e. QQQ or some of the semiconductor stock indexes. These on average are more volatile short term, but they do tend to average higher returns over the long run. And what we're trying to leverage here is that your child does have a long time window, and so by leveraging that, in other words, they're not going to need the money immediately, so they can ride it out for multiple years and let the long-term compounding just kind of work its magic, so to speak. So that's the summary on this type of account, and let's move over to TD Ameritrade, where I'll just pull up the forms and kind of just show you how that works and get you comfortable with that process. All right, so I moved over to the TD Ameritrade homepage. I guess the quick caveat is I don't have any financial affiliation with TD Ameritrade other than it's the account that I use for most of my stock index stuff, and had good experience with them overall, especially compared to some other brokerages. So that's why I've selected to show their homepage and their account process, but you're welcome to choose any broker that you would like. So once you hit the home trade or the homepage, scroll down to the bottom, open new account is where you want to go. Pull that up here, and this is kind of part of the screenshot I showed earlier. The type of account that you're going to look for in this case is the UTMA UGMA, and click on that. Gives you a little bit of summary on that, kind of the same points that we covered earlier, and then at that point you can just click open. And the basic process here, it's a couple different steps, but the summary is your information, your child's information, so you do need their social security number, for example, and obviously birth date, which I'm sure you already know. Some personal information on yourself, the financial information on your background, including they'll ask you for where's the money coming from that you're depositing into this account. Review that. They do a basic check against your address and so forth to make sure that you, at least on the surface, appear to be legitimate, and you sign the agreements with that, and then you have to verify your user ID and so forth, but that's your password to log in. So that's the quick process. You'll select your state. Let me just see if this will, I'll show you what I'm talking about with the age of termination. Right, so once you select your state, as I mentioned, I'm in Washington, and it will tell you what the age of termination is there at 21. So the whole point of this is that you will be in full control of the assets that are involved with this account until the child reaches whatever the age of termination is. And at that point, it completely automatically bounces to their control, and you will no longer have any say whatsoever in that account. So just bear that in mind. You can customize it if you want to. I think there's potentially some other issues involved. So in general, at least I personally just stuck with the default state law and kind of moved from there. So that's the quick summary. You've got just the standard stuff with name and address and all that, but it's not too long. It should take you less than 20 minutes, I think, to fill that out, and you should be good to go. Once you open the account, obviously you need to set up an ACH with your bank, it's the typical way anyway, and move the initial funds over, and from there you can proceed to purchasing stocks or stock index of your choice, which I guess we'll make a separate video on. So that's the quick summary on how to do it. Hope that helps, and feel free to leave any comments or feedback down below. Thanks again.